Hello everyone, thank you for tuning into the DaThings 2 channel for the DaThings interview show. I'm Luke, also known as DaThings, and here with us today we have a very special guest, Noisepuppet.
Hello.
Now before we get too into things, I just want to ask if there's anything about your personal life, any details that you're willing to share, just tell us about yourself.
I'm from South Louisiana. I've lived all over the country. I'm a librarian, a systems librarian, and I'm in New England.
Wow, that's actually really cool. I don't think I've known of anybody who's been in any kind of a job position as a librarian in the YouTube Poop community.
A systems librarian.
Oh, well, right. I mean, that's even more nerdy sounding, in the best way. But yeah, it's great to have you here. Speaking of that kind of a job, I know of a chemistry guy and I think a couple others, but as anybody who knows about you knows that you're not exactly the youngest YouTube pooper alive.
No, and us and Fish Titan are antique. Fish Titan 64.
Oh yeah, Fish Titan. That's right. I didn't know that he was one of the older ones as well. But being the age that you are, is there any? I guess I should ask first. How did you find YouTube Poop? Like, how did you kind of discover it?
I don't know. I just have a penchant for finding weird stuff on the internet. I'm always searching random phrases and finding the oddest possible thing and torturing people with it.
Yeah, and browsing the internet for as long as I do, I've found it's not difficult to find yourself randomly tortured.
Exactly.
On the internet.
And when I came across YouTube Poop, it was basically what I'd been looking for all my life.
Right.
So there it was.
Well, I know a lot of YouTube Poop makers get asked this a lot, but are you able to actually remember as far back to remember what the first YouTube Poop you saw was?
Not at all. I'm sure the first barrage of them that I noticed was Link, Faces of Evil.
Yeah.
As the source.
Yeah, I found, myself included, that's the case with most people. They end up finding something with Faces of Evil and Hotel Mario and, all that CDI stuff.
Yeah.
So, do you, after seeing stuff like this, after seeing, probably the worst of the worst as far as the CDI and the Faces of Evil stuff, how did you start actually making videos? Like, when did you decide that you weren't just going to watch them, that you were going to start making these?
I had been doing some sort of CGI engine-driven comics on the internet. I had stopped doing that. I've done music in the past. I was looking for something to do, and I was seeing video. I was seeing people who weren't any smarter than I am uploading videos that they made, and I thought, well, I don't know, why not just grab my ass and try to fly with it on this thing? And,
right, yeah.
See what we can do.
It's like, hey, this looks fun.
Yeah, and I wasn't thinking YouTube Poop at the time, but then I started seeing them, and it was right along the lines of kind of what I had in mind, only it seemed as if it went even faster and harder at the sort of deconstructing of audio video media that I wanted to do. So that became my main interest, I think.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And I've been looking at your channel and stuff. I saw that you've been doing poops for 3 years now, and I've looked at some of the older ones, and honestly, not like the best stuff, but you've been improving greatly. I was the same way. My videos were kind of okay. They were fun to make, but I got a lot of criticism on them. But as time goes by, you find that you get better, and now you're at 1,200 subscribers. So well done.
Oh, awesome! Yeah.
And one of the most difficult things I found being a YouTube poop maker is finding sources. Some things you just find randomly, some things that you're going to make ahead of time. So for you, how do you choose the sources that you use?
Oh, that's a good question. How do I choose my sources?
On your channel, I see a lot of stuff that's like old commercials, a lot of the vintage black and white kind of sources and stuff.
Yeah, I've always been attracted to that material. When I had a band, I would always write that sort of stuff. I would write songs around that sort of material, cheesy old stuff. I'd make flyers for shows that incorporated old clip art and stuff like that. So it's just that stuff is just funny on its own, and so it's fun to take it and do that stuff with it. Also, commercials that irritate me, or sometimes ones that I like. I'll take and do something with. But you see something and you just know I've got to poop that.
Oh yeah, that happens. That happens to me a lot. I'll just be watching something, on TV, or just be browsing YouTube. I'll find a video and I'll just think, "Yep, that definitely needs some work done." To
I mean the tequila guy. I mean, he was begging
absolutely,
for it.
Absolutely. But I know what you mean. Sometimes it just comes to you. It's just like this kind of this effect that happens where you're just looking at something and you're like, "This, I need to do this."
Yeah, you just know.
One of your sources, I've been kind of wondering about. There's this one. I don't remember what it was called, but you've got this guy and this kid dancing. They're like in a park full of people.
Oh, right. This was a live-action Archie's movie.
Oh.
If you can believe that, from the 90s. It was called Return to Riverdale.
Oh.
And, it was Archie, like the comic book and the cartoon, and the sort of the manufactured band. They had a hit with Sugar.
Okay.
Yeah, and back in the 60s. And, in the 90s, evidently somebody thought it would be a good idea to do a sort of a gritty reboot of Archie. It was like they had all grown up. They're all sort of depressing, and they went back for a high school reunion, and that guy dancing there was playing the character of Jughead, all grown up, and he was divorced, and he had a kid. And he's in that clip, he's sort of trying to bond with his kid over hideous rap music.
Oh, right, yeah.
And it's the actor doing that. Actually, he's dead now. He got cancer and died. That's depressing.
Oh, that's
but
sad.
He was in an episode of NYPD Blue where he was a serial killer, and there's a scene on YouTube you can find of that same guy doing his confession, and it's insanely creepy. You have to go see this if you've seen the Jughead clip.
Well, then I guess I'll go have to check that out.
Yes.
Yeah, most of your sources I can usually figure out, like the Hellman's Mayonnaise one. I could tell, oh yeah, that's just a mayonnaise little commercial thing, Even the black and white ones, sometimes I'm just like, oh, okay, well, yeah, this is just an old Kool-Aid commercial, or like one of those instructional videos they might show in school. But I couldn't figure that one out for the life of me. I looked up like what I thought the lyrics of the original thing were, and I just couldn't find it.
Oh yeah, that's Jughead doing rap.
Yeah, that kind of makes me want to ask. Sometimes I'll be watching a YouTube poop of something, and then I'll just be more curious about what the actual source was, more so than I am entertained with the poop itself. Do you ever find yourself doing that? You ever find yourself just more into the source than the parody?
Yeah, I mean, that sort of happened with this actor. I was thinking what a horrible idea this Archie production was, and just how abysmal it was, while I was watching the, and putting together these frames from it. And then, but having discovered this actor, I was wondering, he obviously has some talent. I mean, the way he moves, you don't just pull that out.
Oh yeah, he's like really animated in the clip from what I can
tell. And so I looked him up and wound up being a kind of a fan of this guy, and sorry to hear that he had died young. But let's see, as far as the source goes, well, nothing comes to mind right off.
Like, were you watching the movie itself? Like, were you just like sitting there? Did it come on TV? Or
I think I was reading a cracked article about gritty reboots that had not needed to happen, and the Archies was one of them. So I said, "Oh, I got to find some clips of this." And when I saw that one, that had to be edited.
And I do appreciate the fact that you use these sources, that you go out of your way, or it seems like you go out of your way to find these kind of obscure things that nobody's ever really touched in YouTube poop before. It's like there's so many bandwagons in YouTube poop nowadays. It's like people will use nothing but music videos and Michael Rosen, and there's still that kind of dark corner of YouTube of people who still use CDI stuff. Go figure. But it's really cool, and it's kind of refreshing to see something else being used.
Oh, well, thanks. It's it's not on purpose to buck a trend, and sometimes, but if somebody like you or CS or somebody does something or says, "Hey, somebody take this and do something with it," then I'll kind of hop on that bandwagon. If it's more personal, So when you did, I think it was Dos Equis guy. That was you, right? Yeah, I said, "Oh, that tequila guy's got it coming."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're telling me.
Or when CS did, I forget what it was, but he suggested somebody take this and do something with it. So I grabbed that right up.
I do like a lot of CS's work as well. And one thing that I'm sure a lot of people are curious about, because you haven't posted any hint toward it, you haven't mentioned it on your channel at all by any means. But what is your opinion of bronies?
It just
Since we're on the topic of bandwagons.
I'm old,
Yeah, ponies has become kind of like this evil word almost. It's like you bring it up and you just get all of these love or hate reactions for it. Yeah, what's it like to have the whole Brony phenomenon just happening around you, where you're not involved in it, where you don't just express your opinion, whether you love them or hate them or in between.
It just kind of, I'm just kind of sitting back and watching it and trying to see what I can make of it. I really don't hate it, but I don't see the point either. It hasn't pulled me in. This is the way that most people I talk to feel about YouTube poop. I show them these videos and I go, "Isn't that the most annoying, awesome thing you've ever seen that just rapes your brain and it's great?" And they'll agree with like the annoying and rapes your brain part, but a lot of them just don't see the point of it.
Oh yeah. I mean that's kind of the reaction I get sometimes. When I show my videos to people, real quick, the reason I keep my videos clean is because I often show them to people who are younger than me. And me being 17, people who are younger than I am significantly, maybe shouldn't be browsing the internet on their own.
Yeah, you don't want to contribute to the delinquency.
But when I do show the videos off, I kind of get that reaction where there's some people who are like, "Yeah, this is really cool, this is really funny," but most of the time it's just like, "Yeah, this is kind of annoying." But
yeah, and it's kind of the same with the whole brony thing, and it's hard to tell who in that movement is sort of being ironic about it and who isn't, or there's a joke and they're not getting it. I don't know. It's just...
Well, yeah, I mean, I can understand that, because, there are a lot of people who go out there and they just say that they're a brony because it's ironic or, because it's different and stuff. And there are still some people who are legit about it, who actually enjoy watching the show. And there are also people who, just say that they hate ponies altogether when they're really just trolling. Yeah,
and have you seen Youthboy 14's videos?
I might have. I don't recognize the username, but...
Yeah, he does a lot of brony stuff and sort of claims to be a brony in the comments, and well, evidently he is, but it's hard to tell how much of it is a joke. I mean, he's very young too, but and his stuff is twisted. It's hilarious. So there's something in there. There's something in the whole brony thing, but I may be too old to get it, or
well, of course. I mean, I get that. I mean, I've seen bronies all over the internet from ages 12 to 50 and stuff, but it's kind of all the same. I mean, bronies is just kind of one of those really weird phenomena that happened.
Yeah.
I still don't quite fully understand every aspect of it, but I think I've got a pretty decent idea of where it comes from.
Really? So I mean, so clue us in. What is it that pulls you into the whole brony thing?
Well, the show itself is nice. I mean, I personally watch the show because I'm a really big fan of good animation, and it's kind of astounding the fact that everything in the show pretty much is made with Adobe Flash. So looking at it from that standpoint, and even from a critical standpoint, just looking at it from the point of view of somebody who I actually do plan on going into the video industry at some point, and animation is part of that. So looking at it from a critical eye, even then, it's fantastic.
No, I get that. That makes sense. Yeah.
What really pulled me in is when I found out that Lauren Faust, who was the head designer, one of the designers in the Powerpuff Girls way back when, which, yeah, that was another one of those shows where if you were a guy and you watched it, it was okay because it was just so awesome, and it was full of those jokes that that both kids and adults could get. So that's what kind of draws me into the pony show itself, but the Brony thing, I mean, I kind of call myself a Brony, kind of just as an affiliation with it, just to say, yeah, I have respect for the show, and I watch it, but I don't get into, like, the fanfic or anything like that. You know, there's a whole other subculture that I'm not really into. But it's kind of strange when you get a whole lot of criticism. There was this one guy who commented on one of my videos calling me a pedophile for being a Brony, which I don't really mind. You know, he could have been trolling, he could have been serious about it, but I don't take YouTube comments personally. There's really no need to.
Yeah, that's even if he doesn't think he's trolling at that point. Yeah.
But I kind of got into it because I saw Brony videos. The whole Brony name just being thrown out, and My Little Ponies just kind of bombarding the internet all at once. And
right.
So I just decided one day, okay, I'll just check it out. And it's one of those things where you just you watch an episode or two, and from there you kind of decide whether it's something that you like or something that you don't.
I see. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. See, I haven't seen the new show, so I wouldn't be in a position to judge it from that standpoint, and I could only see sort of the Brony movement from where we see it, and so I've sort of been sitting there going, well, okay, I'm going to see the point of this at some point. Now that you link it into the Powerpuff Girls, I can see it.
Well, anyway, I think we're getting off track just a little bit. I mean, this interview is about you. It's not about ponies. But anyway, going back to your videos, sometimes I'll just end up watching your videos and just find myself just laughing my head off, at some of these things that I think are absolutely hilarious, and then remembering that most of it is actually just reversing jokes, like Sauce and Jaj and stuff like that. And I've kind of wondered why it is that I myself find it funny, and so many of the YouTube Poop fans do as well. Do you have kind of an explanation for why you think that Sauce is funny?
No, I was actually talking to my wife about that the other day. I was saying people pick up. It's not just me. I watched videos and laughed at those things, and then I wanted to do those. It's that palindromic thing.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's because it's just so easy to do.
Where you can make palindromes out of things that people say, and they're a word, but what's funny about it is the form of it. It kind of transcends any content that's in it. It's like we're not laughing necessarily at the word sauce and all the things that it could mean, although there are connotations to that. That's pretty funny. But there's also that form, so that we start throwing faff in there, or CS 188's hostess.
Or yeah, like Jaj and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I don't know why it's funny. It just is.
Yeah, it's like it's not so much that you're laughing at the word sauce or anything like that, but you're just kind of laughing at the fact that that's not what they originally said. And oftentimes, the smoother it is, the more it sounds like they're actually saying it in the poop itself, the funnier it is. It's that kind of random out there, we're just going to throw this in your face kind of thing, but it's a little bit more clever than most people who try to pull that off.
Yeah, it's watching people sort of behave like broken robots.
Yeah, that's actually a really good way of putting it.
It's like a busted speak and spell.
That's really accurate.
Or that fish. Have you seen any of the videos where the fish is running out of batteries? The singing fish?
No, I haven't. I know the fish thing that you're talking about. But,
it starts channeling Satan, basically. I mean, it's hideous.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, and that's sort of the appeal of YouTube Poop. But it also it sort of calls your attention to the form of language. So often I think we're focused on interpreting what people are saying, the meaning, in what people are saying, or caught up in our own active interpretation. And when you just hear these phonetic things, these phonemes just sort of strung together in a manner that resembles language but really isn't, it lights something up in your brain. It's it's pleasurable to those of us who find it pleasurable. It's pleasurable because it makes you see the same thing a different way.
Absolutely, and even, most of YouTube poop is supposed to be funny. I mean, it's supposed to have this kind of comedic effect, but just taking one thing and just looking at it in a completely different way, it changes the meaning entirely. Which brings to mind, there was this video that a chemistry guy made. I don't remember what it was called, but he uses Blue's Clues a lot, and there was this one video where he had Blue's Clues as the source, but it was slowed down, and you had like jazz music playing, and it was really almost dramatic, almost kind of emo, in a way. And this video, I found it really funny. I mean, he in the description said like, oh well, the purpose of YouTube poop isn't necessarily comedy, and he was just trying to do kind of an experimental thing. But I was laughing the whole time anyway, just because it's Blue's Clues,
Oh yeah. A lot of times if somebody sort of drives by and leaves a comment like, oh, this wasn't funny, but it was creative, or what, or this was terrible, your other ones were better with more sex jokes or something, I'm thinking, first of all, I mean, I laugh, at the sort of the slowed down Blue's Clues thing myself, even if it's not comedy, even if it doesn't seem to be in the comedy genre. You know what I mean? If there's not a lot of jokes in it, it's still funny as hell to me because it makes all those random connections in your brain. But
absolutely, yeah.
What chemistry guy is getting at there is the same thing I would say, which is, well, the way I put it is a YouTube poop is something that happens to you. You don't go out going, I'll, I mean?
You don't look for YouTube poop,
Right. It's the kind of production that should sort of slam into your eyes and, violate you in some way.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever gone onto YouTube or onto the internet or thinking, I'm going to watch some YouTube poop today. It's always just like, oh, cool, there's one in my subscriptions. Awesome, I'll watch it. And it makes my day a little bit better. But, again, it's like you don't go looking for it.
Yeah, and it's sort of like a roller coaster ride or I imagine how taking drugs must be for people who enjoy drugs.
I guess so. I guess this is as close as we're going to get legally.
so that you don't know what's going to happen. You don't get to sit back and sort of go, oh, I'll evaluate this. This one is good. This one met my expectations. No, this is supposed to violate your expectations. You know what I mean? It's not to sit back and enjoy in the conventional sense. So that's, and I think that's what a lot of my friends don't get. I'll pass some video on to them that's really jarring. And, to me, that's what I'm looking for. And they'll look at that and go, I just got a migraine. And I'll say, I know, isn't that terrific?
Right. I mean, to some it's funny, to some it's fantastic, to some it's absolutely hilarious, but to others, it's just a migraine, That's kind of what YouTube poop is. Well, I think it's getting a little bit late. I don't want the interview itself to run too long here. So, to end, is there any kind of advice you would give to anybody looking to start going into making YouTube poop at all?
Oh, just do what you think is funny. I mean, do what's fun for you. Tear things. Look, media shouldn't be something that you sit back and have to receive on its terms or on the terms of the people who put it out there, like the Disney Corporation. You should take it, tear it apart, and reassemble it in the order that suits your needs, and put it out there for people to do the same.
Yeah, absolutely. The YouTube poop community really is kind of helpful. I mean, even for me, when my videos started out, they were kind of not so great, and over time, I've just been getting more critiques like, yeah, you can choose this, or maybe you shouldn't use this joke and stuff like that. And you can really rely on the community to help you improve your material, that if that's what you're going for. But if not, hey, just post something. It doesn't really matter. It's YouTube poop. It's not really anything that's official. It's not something that you really make money off of or anything like that. So what do you have to worry about? But anyway, thank you very much once again, Noisepuppet, for being on the show. I'm really glad to actually kick off the interview show with somebody who I kind of admire in the YouTube poop community, who makes videos that I thoroughly enjoy pretty much every time. So, thanks again.
And I've enjoyed your stuff a lot since early times when you were posting these. Was Burgers and Greens one of yours?
Yeah, Burgers and Greens. Yeah, that was.
And I think that was the first time I noticed you because it linked to my berries and cream video.
Yeah.
But yeah, since then I've been watching you. So I would tell aspiring poopers out there to watch you, and you show how it can be done clean if you want to do it that way.
Right.
So it doesn't have to be all gutter jokes like most of us do, because that's what's in our minds.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's something that can be funny at times when it's done clever, but and even though mine are clean, I like to watch videos where there's a good balance.
Yeah.
Anything else? Anything you want to say in closing here?
Drink plenty of sauce.
Oh yes. Don't forget to get the sauce.
Drink plenty of sauce, and get your snons.
Oh yes, and the snons. You can't forget the snons. Well, once again, thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of your stuff. So thanks again.
All right, thank you.
And to the viewers, who would you like to see me interview next? Anybody else in the YouTube Poop community? Just shout out a name. I might send them a message, and who knows? You could see them here. So anyway, thanks again for tuning in to the DaThings 2 channel. Be sure to subscribe here and to the DaThings 1 channel for weekly YouTube Poop. All right, I am out.